About 2 weeks ago, HLTV came out with this article right here stating that $110 million were paid out to the teams through the Paris Major. Now obviously I went ahead and I DM'd every single person I possibly could to get a little bit more information on this, and some of them did reply. We'll talk about that later. The biggest thing I want to focus in on is this word right here, total earnings, or specifically total. That's because Valve actually doesn't pay out the teams in just one lump sum. They pay out the teams in a couple different ways, and this is where a lot of the problems stem in this area. People don't know how things actually work. Specifically with this, people don't know that Valve sends an itemized list to the teams of where their money is coming in from, and it shows the capsule, the pass, and everything else, the breakdown of how they're getting paid. I want to give a huge thank you to Team Sprout for helping me with this and many other videos. They're always great.
SkinSwap is today's sponsor, and they're also sponsoring you with a free bonus for signing up with the first link in the description. They're the premier place for CSGO and Rust skins, with a massive trading site and a top-of-the-line marketplace, offering you the most competitive rates out there and a massive 40% bonus when you're using that link in the description. Combine that with their top-of-the-line selling feature with many payout options, and their trading feature legitimately taking you just about a minute, and there's no reason not to sign up with that first link in the description.
Now we want to see how many maximum possible capsules are out there. It's very useful information, and it's going to give us a baseline. So we can go ahead and multiply the legends, the challengers, and the contenders amounts by 8 because there was 8 teams participating, and we can multiply the autographs by 40 because there was 8 teams participating and 5 autographs per team. That gives us a total of these numbers right here. Now that's only actually half of the revenue. We can go ahead and multiply it by 2 because this is just the amount that Valve dished out to the teams. Once we go ahead and do all that, we see a maximum amount of 224 million legends, 288 million contenders, 166.4 million challengers, 64 million autograph legends, 80 million autograph contenders, and 64 million autograph challengers, for a grand total of 886 million capsules. Now that seems like a lot. In fact, it is a lot. However, we did not include the two main things that are going to be bringing this down, one of which is capsules purchased pre-sale, and the other one is passes purchased for the overall major. Now there's one area of this data that's actually completely correct already, or at least the presumption is the data can't get any more precise. That's going to be the autographs. That's because the autographs are fully independent of the challengers, the legends, and the contenders team logo capsules, because the only thing that's going to impact these are the amount that are purchased pre-sale, and obviously that's a little bit hard to predict. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but that's just a wild guess. Theoretically, these capsule amounts right here are what we will probably be working with inside of this area. Now, figuring out what our actual data is, let's start off with what I think is going to be the most impactful, and that's the amount of passes purchased. That's because each pass is actually very significant. Now, obviously, there's two different types of passes. One's going to be $10 and one's going to be $18. For simplicity's sake, only the $10 pass is actually going to exist in this example, but keep in the back of your mind that one pass purchased with the tokens at $18 is theoretically about 2 of the cheaper passes. Now, coming down here, we can see that even if just 1 million passes were purchased, that's already 20 million capsules taken away. These are going to be split evenly amongst the capsules, and therefore that's 6.6 million capsules gone from each different category of the legends, the contenders, and the challengers team logo capsules. Now, personally, I think that's a quite significant underestimation. Obviously, we know that there was a lot of passes purchased, but the biggest thing comes down to the fact that people theoretically should have always been purchasing the pass with tokens, and considering in this example that is 2 of these cheaper passes, that's a huge impact that this is going to have. If you think maybe 5 million passes were purchased, now you're looking at 33.3 million capsules gone from every single capsule itself. That's 100 million capsules gone, or theoretically 1/8 or 1/9 of the possible supply out there, or 20% of the challengers, 11.5% of the contenders, and almost 15% of the legends capsules gone. Now, moving forward in the data, we're going to say that there was 3 million passes purchased, but there's so much this data can't fully prove. If we want to look at the poll I asked my audience, almost 40% of people thought that the answer was over 20 million passes were purchased. That's just because people didn't read the poll, and in the same way, I want you to remember, all the data I'm presenting to you here is my interpretation of it. None of it is outright proven to be correct, and it's just a perspective I want to give you on the overall Paris area, because I think there's a lot of incorrect interpretations going on. Now, when we come back to this, we're rocking with 3 million passes, which is going to be taking 20 million capsules off of all of the big 3 capsules. Now, the other area of impact is going to be the amount of capsules that were purchased at full price. If you thought there was 1 million, that's going to be a 3 million capsule reduction for each 1 million purchased. Now, we're going to be taking these numbers from the 5 million passes purchased above, just to show you how low this number could theoretically get. Obviously, if you purchased 5 million capsules of each one before the sale, it's going to be a 15 million capsule reduction for each of them. It's going to bring something like your challengers all the way down to 118 million, when before it was over 166 million. This is to kind of give you a perspective. If you think everything is on the low end of what I'm showing you here, this is possibly the theoretical lowest number I could reasonably give you for the amount of capsules out there. Now, here we have our realistic estimation. For this one, I said we're going to be purchasing 9 million capsules, and we're going to be proportionately splitting them based off the unboxing numbers we've seen previously. Now for this, that's going to give us a capsule reduction of about 7 billion to 12.5 million, and the new capsule count is going to be combining this realistic estimation with the realistic estimation of the amount of passes purchased at 3 million. That's going to be getting us our new capsule count right there. So breaking it all down, what exactly? So we had a maximum capsule count of 886 million. That's theoretically, if you're just taking the amount of money gotten times 8, that's what you're getting. But I think in actuality, we're a lot closer to 786 million capsules, which is almost a near identical 100 million capsule difference. How did we find this? We included a very conservative estimate of the amount of passes purchased and a very conservative estimate of the amount of capsules purchased at full price. If you want my personal opinion, I think there was so many more passes purchased than what we originally did in our explanation. That's just because people had a financial incentive to go ahead and pay $18 for the pass, and in our example, that is 2 passes. Therefore, it's a really good way to not only support the teams, but it's also a really good way to try and figure out how many of the capsules out there are kind of artificial, thinking about how many people are buying that pass with tokens, because it is the smarter move. Now let's talk about the demand aspect. If we want to look at this right here, this is the last known data we have. It's from October 1st, 2023, and it comes in with 430 million capsules unboxed, 410 of which are what we're talking about specifically today in terms of the big 6. Now when we're focusing in on this, we can obviously see there's a lot of issues. This data is from October, and we don't have any updated data until today. I reached out to Biotic, the person who made the sheet, and he was able to give me a little bit more information. First up, he says there was at least 500 million total unboxed, which is kind of good, but also kind of expected, but he personally believes there's about 650 to 550 million unboxed during this period. Now theoretically, if we were to take that 650 million and combine it with the data we found earlier, suggesting there's about 786 million capsules out there, that would mean theoretically there's only about 135 million capsules left out there, which seems like a lot, and it definitely is, but to put that into perspective, that's only about 1/6 of the total amount of capsules we started with, which is extremely good to be at this point and only have 1/6 of that supply remaining. Now what's the future of these capsules? Obviously no one knows specifically what's going to happen. There's a lot of unknowns in this area just because these capsules do have such a massive supply, and it gets hard to estimate when it gets further along down the road. With that being said, I think honestly everything Paris really depends on Copenhagen. If we see a borderless Copenhagen, obviously Paris is going to take a hit, but if we see a Copenhagen that looks bordered and it looks okay, I think Paris is going to be in a very prosperous moment at that period. Now one thing that I'm commonly seeing that's just completely wrong is a lot of people believing that souvenir packages are actually giving funds to the teams, or you buy a souvenir package and some of the funds go to the teams. That's not how it works. That's not how it has ever worked from my personal knowledge, and anyone who says this is clearly misinformed. And finally, the last thing, what would I personally do? I would not be buying or selling Paris. That's not the goal of the video. The goal of the video is to go ahead and correct a common misinformation that we're seeing a lot out there. I don't think Paris at this point is a great nor a bad investment. It's really just dependent on the future of these stickers in general. But that's all I got. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day.